Hey guys, it's been a while, but I'm back, briefly at least. And before I get on with this review, I'm gonna explain a few things. I'm gonna update a little, and pretty much explain why there has been such a hiatus lately with the Batman animated series reviews. That's because the next episode I'm going to review is a two-parter, and two-parters generally are much more difficult to review, at least for me. And it was a miracle that I got the Two-Face review out as quickly as I did, because that was really hard. But now with school, like, the school's getting tougher, much more work, the work's getting more intense. I feel like right now, at this current moment, I can't really put my full effort into that Cat in the Claw review. And so when things calm down a little at school, I'll get right to doing that. Hopefully, I'll be back to doing the Batman animated series reviews after Christmas break. Hopefully. Like, by the end of January, around there. So the hiatus will continue probably I definitely won't be able to do more Batman animated series reviews in December. But hopefully in January I'll be back with that. And so you'll say, like, so wait, if you can't do the Cat in the Claw review, why are you doing this? Because comic book reviews generally are easier to do, for me at least. And that's because I don't have to do the whole screen grab thing, because that's really, really difficult it's really, not difficult, but time consuming. And time is something that I don't have a lot of at this current time. And also, with the screen grabs, editing becomes a big task. And so with the comic book review, I can talk about the comic, and since I can't really get, panel for panel, all I have to really work with is covers. And so that really simplifies my editing process a lot, no matter how long the video is. So that's why I'm doing this. So this month of December will be comic book reviews. And I can't really say how many I'll do this month, but I'll at least do one more this month. This and one more, at least, at the very least. So I plan December, towards the end of December, before Christmas, shortly before Christmas, I'm going to review Batman Noel, which I promised when I reviewed what's it called? Christmas with the Joker. I said I might review Batman Noel for the holidays, and so I'll do that. I'll review Batman Noel before December's over, before Christmas. So that's gonna be the next review, probably after this one. So guys, I'm really sorry for the hiatus of Batman the Animated Series reviews, but the quality would suffer if I did it right now, and I'd love to do the best job possible with that. So I really appreciate your guys' support. And my subscriber count has gone up, and I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome, and I hope I can keep up the animated series reviews to the best quality that I can. But anyway, now that, wow, 4 minutes almost, and so now might be a good time to get on with the review of Peter David, Marvel Visionaries, Incredible Hulk, Volume 8. What can I say? Peter David is simply the man. Actually, Stan is, quote, the man Lee. But anyway, Peter David is probably one of the best writers the comic book field has seen in its entire history. The man has written every type of story and every type of character in comics. In many cases, he has taken some of the more popular villains and added much complexity to them that is usually not there. An example off the top of my head would be how he wrote the Sandman in his run of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. He gave Sandman the motivation of wanting to leave a mark on the world that will last forever, in this case, killing Spider-Man. Virtually everyone agrees that Peter David's best work is his 12-year run on The Incredible Hulk, which Marvel has done a great job of collecting in these Visionary volumes. I've already reviewed volumes 2, 5, and 6, but those reviews are not of the best quality, I'll say that right off the bat. So I'll take a chance with this review to state my views on Peter David's Hulk work more concisely. Having said the volumes I reviewed and own, you'll notice they are a bit scattered, 2, 5, and 6. Hopefully one day I'll eventually get all Visionary volumes of his run and read them in order, but they still work great alone. Whenever I do buy one of these volumes, I feel justified on basing my decision on the cover of the volume, because I know no matter which volume I buy, it will have great comics in it. The reason I did buy 5 and 6 was because I wanted to read the story of the formation of the Merged Hulk, which is one of the most fascinating concepts in all of Peter David's run. Volume 8 continues to explore how this new and complete Hulk, mentally that is, functions and what traits he gets from the Grey Hulk, Savage Hulk, and Bruce Banner. This merged Hulk does have Banner's smarts, but also seems to have his morality and views of justice, but while Banner would probably be a lot more serious in his quest for justice, he does have the Grey Hulk's attitude, so in battle the merged Hulk can't help but deliver a few wisecracks. Volume 8 puts the Hulk in a wide variety of situations, and there is even more fighting and action here than in the past volumes I've read, and those still have quite a bit of action. Even so, Peter David never skimps out on developing all his characters and puts them through emotional challenges, not just physical. A great summary of this is actually the first story arc of Volume 8, War and Pieces. There's plenty of over-the-top action, with the Hulk using giant guns and fighting X-Factor, but there is a lot of exploration of the idea of how politics and religion affects people. The Hulk is now part of the Pantheon, a group of superpowered people that go around the world righting wrongs, in case you didn't know. And as you can imagine, that can go into very complicated territory in the modern world with international politics. War and Pieces addresses whether it's right or wrong to go around the world overthrowing leaders and where the line should be drawn. The main antagonist in this arc is a dictator called Farnock Dawn, who considers himself the will of God, and that he does not owe his people anything but that they owe their lives to him for that reason. Dawn rules a country called Transvaal, which is an ally to the United States, which is why X-Factor sent there to handle the Hulk, who was working with the Pantheon to help the local rebels. I won't go much more into detail since there are other stories in this volume to cover, but the ending is great. And Rick Jones goes through a very meaningful experience that makes him reassess his view of the world in the rest of the issues of this volume. I know Peter David was also writing X-Factor, hence the crossover, and he makes it so you can understand the story clear as day without having to be reading X-Factor. Peter David also brings distinct characterizations to each member of X-Factor that makes me think that his work on that book should definitely be checked out. I'm also very impressed that Marvel chose to include the one X-Factor issue that ties into War and Pieces, since that issue is not necessary, but does leaps and bounds to flesh out the themes of the story arc using the character Wolfsbane. The next story is Hulk 393, an anniversary issue, which is a fantastic tribute to Incredible Hulk number 1, even using events and dialogue directly from the issue. Excuse me. This time, however, the story focuses on the Russian spy Igor Drenbach, who tried to sabotage Banner's work and allowed the gamma bomb to go off that turned Bruce into the Hulk. The main idea of the story centers around is whether or not the Hulk is a monster or hero, and Drenbach is used in a great way to flesh this idea out. At the end, Drenbach even directly addresses the reader, for reasons I won't spoil here. There is also a backup story written by Peter David as well, following a con man who encounters the Hulk in each stage of his Hulk persona, which is very interesting to look at how the Hulk has evolved over time. This backup story is also quite funny. The anniversary issue also contains a complete psychological profile of Bruce Banner by Doc Samson that does wonders to explain every single facet of Hulk's character and development over the years. The next issue is another standalone story, but this one introduces an alien race called the Trojans that will develop into a major story arc in later volumes. One of the members of the Pantheon, Atlanta, is missing in the Himalayas, being stalked by a Trojan regarded as a noble on his planet called Trauma. The two of them had been fighting for a while because Atlanta killed Trauma's brother, but this time he reveals that he has fallen in love with Atlanta, which plays into the future story arc. The issue is pretty much Hulk and Trauma duking it out in the Himalayas, but lays the groundwork for the Trojan War story and continues to develop the characterizations and dynamics in the team. I especially like this small conversation Paris has with his brother Ajax, who has an obsessive fixation with Atlanta and really badly wants to help with the search, and Paris half insults Ajax while telling him all the reasons he is an impractical choice for the search. Paris is so snobby throughout the entire book, but because he has a devious sense of humor, I am always interested whenever I read his dialogue. Now we move on to Hulk Annual number 18, which is the first part of a 4-part Defenders reunion. This trade only collects that first part, and has a page to tell the reader what happened in the 3 other parts. I'm actually fine with this, because I don't have that big a stake in the Defenders. Well, there are good Defender stories, but I don't personally care to read that much about the Defenders, and Peter David doesn't write any of the other parts of the Defenders story, so it wouldn't make sense to put it in a collection specifically centered on Peter David's work. What I will say about this Hulk Annual is that it's an unbelievable amount of fun. I mean, it starts with the Hulk and the Thing arm wrestling with a bunch of supervillains attempting to even make them flinch. I really skimp out on the details of this one because I'm not reviewing an entire story arc, so all I'll say is that a book is causing a lot of evil magic to go around, and the Defenders need to get to the bottom of it. A major fun factor to this annual issue is that Namor gets trapped inside Rick Jones' body. When Doctor Strange goes on a whole exposition trip about how this came to be, he tells Namor that he had turned into a demon and lost his memories of that when he went into Rick's body, and Namor has a great response when he says, "I had amnesia? I don't recall." Another great moment is when Namor freaks out after realizing throughout a conversation he had been eating potato chips because Rick's mind is strong and exerts influence on Namor. I could go on about more fun moments, such as when the Hulk gets struck by lightning and isn't able to hear Doctor Strange's speech about how the Defenders must reunite, but I think I'll stop there and move on to the final story of this volume. Volume 8 ends with a 2-parter covering Hulk number 395 and 396, where the Hulk goes back to Las Vegas with a few members of the Pantheon to avenge Joe Fixit's boss, who had been murdered. Just to remind people, Joe Fixit is the persona the Grey Hulk adopted as an enforcer in a Las Vegas casino. The fact that the new merged Hulk goes by the name of Mr. Fixit shows that the Grey Hulk is still an integral part of his personality. It was always lots of fun to see the Grey Hulk completely dressed in a high-class tuxedo, and it's just as much fun to see a green-skinned Hulk wear that as well. This might be getting repetitive, but this is another really fun story, though this time it's a complete story, not just one part. While the Hulk is investigating the gang that murdered his old boss, the Punisher is also in town doing the same, and the two are forced to work together. The Hulk and Punisher have a nice banter, though they're not really at odds that much. They work pretty well together. Still, they all do some nice detective work to incriminate the gang, so the police can arrest them. Paris is back here and continues to get great moments, but the most memorable part of this arc is a kind of random scene where Dr. Octopus is making a ruckus in a casino. I love that Doc Ock has this attitude that he was just there to unwind like on a vacation, but the casino owners freaked out because he's a known criminal. The Hulk arrives and he tells Dr. Octopus that, "You've given me a lot of trouble, Doctor, so I'm giving you the finger." And the Hulk flicks Doc Ock to knock him out. That was awesome. There's a subplot here with Rick Jones and suspicion about a woman who claims to be his real mother, but that plot thread is not resolved. At least not in this volume. Overall, this last arc is very simple, with a nice helping of action, but lots of fun and very well written. I think comics can stand to have this amount of quality while having fun with it. Before closing out this review, let me briefly talk about the artwork. Most of it is drawn by Dale Cohn. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Sorry if I'm butchering that, but anyway. And Dale Cohn's artwork is the best in the book. All his character designs look good, but not excessively detailed, and his action is very dynamic. Dale Cohn's work on The Incredible Hulk overall has some very iconic-looking images, including promotional art for the character on merchandise, and is probably some of the best in all of Peter David's run. Unfortunately, the artists that draw the few issues Cohn does not work on ranges from okay to slightly above subpar. Both the artists on the annual and Trauma issue have some very odd-looking faces on the Hulk. I especially don't like how the Hulk is drawn in the annual, which is by an artist named Kevin Maguire. I mean, no offense to the artists who work on those issues, since those still have very dynamic action, But perhaps the fact that their work is alongside an artist of Dale Cohn's caliber makes the art in the issues look weaker. I of course recommend Volume 8 of Peter David's Hulk run, but I would recommend any of these Visionary volumes. Each one has a consistent tone, but this one has the most fun of any of the ones I've read, and there's still great storytelling, especially with War and Pieces. And each character has great and believable dialogue. Speaking of dialogue, Peter David seems to like to have the Hulk quote the Terminator a lot. I absolutely suggest you go and pick this up, because it's that good. Next time you'll see me, I'll definitely do that review of Batman Noel. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.